All right, everybody, we'll start the last session of the day before the lightning talks. I would really like to welcome Laura Satch to the stage to talk about developing computer science education. Thank you very much, Laura.
Thank you. Hello, everybody. I'm going to introduce myself as well because I am also, like Kat, an ex-teacher. And I know that it's not particularly exciting to hear about me, but I'm just going to give you a little bit of background. So I did a degree in computer science, and then I worked for a little while as a PHP developer, very short time, and then I decided to become a teacher. So I thought, great, fantastic, I'll go into teaching. And you'd think, well, that sounds like a fairly standard background for a computer science teacher, you know, computer science degree, you've done a bit of maybe work in industry. No, that's really non-standard. You probably won't find that hardly at all, I would say, which I think is quite scary. So this is partly why I have decided, or I thought I really need to come and do this talk, and I wanted it to be a talk for developers, not a talk for teachers, because teachers kind of already know this stuff, but I don't think that maybe everybody in industry knows exactly what is going on in education at the moment. So hopefully by the end of this, you'll have a bit more of an idea. So I realised I lied on this slide, so this is the first lie. It's not UK computer science education that I'm going to talk about. It's literally in England. I know that we're in Wales at the moment, but some of the things on here are specific to England, so I'm sorry it's not quite UK. I'm going to start again, like Kat started, with a report. So this is the Wolf report. And as you can see from the little graph, we're looking at this red line here. Basically, they started saying, well, look, there's all these vocational qualifications loitering around. So they, back in sort of 2005, this is about when I sort of did my PGC, my teacher training, there were all these qualifications which were kind of worth about the equivalent of 4 GCSEs, and you had to like make a poster and a PowerPoint or something like that, and you got this qualification. And Michael Gove, my favourite politician ever, said, well, this is silly. There's all these schools going around doing these fantastic courses. Well, actually, they're not that fantastic because they're just doing them so that they look good on the performance tables. So he said, right, we've got to sort this out. Okay. This is an example of, just thought I'd show you this to freak you out, okay? So this is an example of the first thing that kids would see on the old programme of study when they came in year 7. So this poor child toddles through the door and sees a presentation. This is called Pat's Poor Presentation. Has anyone seen this before? No, good, you're not scarred for life. So they had to go, oh, what's wrong with this presentation? How could I improve it? Oh, make yourself a presentation about me. Isn't this fantastic? Yawn, how unbelievably dull. And even worse than this sort of awful programme of study is ruining my life even now, because people who came through this horrible system, I meet at dinner parties and things, and they go, oh, do you know what, when I was at school, IT was rubbish. My teacher didn't have a clue what they were on about. We just made PowerPoints all the time, and I'm there in the corner going, please don't ask me, I'm an accountant, you know. So it was this kind of nonsense. And then this happened. So this is a graph of the number of students studying A-level computing from 2004 to now. Prior to 2004, it was actually 28,000, so the year before. You might think, well, that's a bit weird. What happened to make it go down to just above 8? Well, actually, they kind of split it up. It used to be sort of an amalgamation of IT and computing, and then it got split, and computing got about 8,000. So it was going down and down and down and down, and it got to a really bad point about 2013, and actually it's gone up a bit now. It's not too bad. I hope it's not a coincidence. We've gone back up to the levels of probably about 2007 now. That's when I started teaching. I've just stopped teaching. Maybe there's a correlation, not entirely sure. But also, this is another can of worms, which I'm not going to talk about today, but pretty embarrassing, the number of females taking computer science A-level, I think. So that's kind of bad. Then it took an American, it took Eric Schmidt coming over and doing this lecture in Edinburgh and saying, basically, look, what is going on? Why are you not teaching computing in UK schools? Why is this? And suddenly they sort of woke up and went, oh, yeah, the chairman of Google says this. Maybe we should do this. Okay, great. So Michael Gove, my favorite politician, said, okay, great, well, let's get rid of the program of study. We just don't need it anymore. Okay, so he thought, great, get rid of that, no problem. That'll be fine. We'll just tell them do something else in 2 years, as Gat said. So they brought in the new program of study and things like this, which students now have to learn about, and they have to know what an algorithm is and how it's implemented as a program on a digital device. And this is for the kids who are 5. So you can imagine what the poor primary school teachers were thinking. They're scared by this piece of paper. It's literally, I don't know if you've ever seen the National Curriculum for England for Computing. Google it if you haven't looked at it. It's 2 sides of A4. It's deliberately so because they wanted to give more freedom, which is fantastic, but more freedom when you don't really know what the thing is in the first place and you need a little bit of guidance is quite terrifying. So great on some fronts, less great on other fronts. So they thought, fantastic, okay, we will have loads of money, we'll get people to bring loads of money, and then we'll train all the teachers. And so they gave £3.6 million, which sounds like a hell of a lot of money until you realise it's £83.72 per teacher. Ouch. So basically it's your fault that we're not trained, so sorry about that. So the idea was that there was going to be some training and, teachers were going to become amazing, even though their background was not in computer science, and previously they were teaching sort of how to make a PowerPoint kind of thing, and it's all going to be fine. It's kind of the thing you're like, I'm sure it's going to be fine, we'll just leave that over there. It's not fine. And I put this on, there is no them, only us. So this is a quote from Computing at School. Is anyone a member of Computing at School? A few people. If you're not, look them up. So this is a body which started off as a grassroots kind of thing, trying to get computing in schools, and computing is now in schools, and now is trying to train teachers. So it has teachers, it has professionals, it has academics, it has all kinds of people in it. So if you're not a member, go and look it up. But I think there is no them, only us is a really important thing, because I heard in a different talk today somebody saying, well, my son's teacher's rubbish, they don't know anything about it, and I find it appalling the kind of nonsense that they come home and have as a homework for their computing lessons. Well, okay, maybe that's true. I have no idea who the person is or the teacher, but maybe it is true, and there's a strong possibility that it is true. But there is no them, there is only us. So if you go and say, well, this person's a load of rubbish, they can't do their job, there's nobody to fill that void. If you instantly sack that person, there's not a whole pile of amazing computer science teachers waiting in the wings. There is us. And us is the people in this room, us is the teachers. That's all there is. That's what we have to work with. So I thought, right, well, why don't we talk, really, teachers and people from industry? Why is there really not much going on in terms of people helping each other? Firstly, massive factor is time. Nobody has time, and I don't blame them. Nobody has time for anything. So I found this on, I won't name the package, I found this on a package. I was trying to figure out how to use this package in my spare time, and I went on the newbie tutorial, and it said, well, if you can't make it work, don't ask anybody, don't go in any channels, just play around with it for 2 hours. Now, I was kind of annoyed that it said that, because I had made the trouble to go to look for this package and to try to use it and to try to work it, and I don't want to be told, no, do it yourself. Sort yourself out. I'd like some support and I'd like some help. And let's face it, who has a few hours? A few hours isn't terribly useful if you have no idea how to start. So that is kind of a problem, I think, that many teachers have. I went and asked some developers on Twitter, so I thought it was a bit hypocritical to come to a conference and just say, oh, these are all the problems, and this is all what teachers think. So this is a thing which is shared. So they think that time is a big problem. Obviously, people have jobs, people are working till, 6 o'clock. It never occurred to me that it's really stupid to run a meetup at 4 o'clock and expect developers to come to it. Maybe I'm really silly, but obviously people are still at work. So teachers like to do things straight after the end of school because, it's handy for them. It's not going to work, so that's clearly something that we have to work on. So you get to this really frustrating situation where teachers are doing stuff really badly, but on the other hand, they're like, no, I haven't got time to improve, I can't make it better because I can't spend time doing something with you to help. The other problem is building a relationship between teachers and developers. So on Computing at School, which is the site that I mentioned earlier, there's a forum called No Question, Too Simple, Small, or Stupid. That sounds like a great forum. Not at all a gingerbread house of luring people in and going, oh, come and ask really silly questions here, it'll be fine. So somebody asked a question on this forum. The question was actually, I hesitate to say this at a Python conference, what's so bad about PHP? This teacher asked. And this is the answer they got. That's not a joke. That actually happened. True story. So I think that sometimes, and I'm not saying that everybody does this, but sometimes answers come out that, quite frankly, teachers like, oh, wow, I have no idea. And when you don't know what you don't know if that's something that you're supposed to know but you don't know, or if that's something that's ridiculously difficult and nothing to do with the question maybe that you asked. I mean, trying to figure out a teacher who knows anything about Haskell, good luck with that. But I'm generally quite pro this. I'm quite sort of like, yay, let's work together, let's do stuff. And I like it when people come and tell me stuff and criticize my blog. So I had this email from somebody, and I put out resources to help people. So I have like an A-level book. And this thing in question is a year's worth of work that I just uploaded somewhere, and I thought, here you go, have this, people. So this person wrote me an email saying, oh, I found some mistakes in your book. So I wrote back and went, oh, okay. Obviously, he thinks I'm a publishing house because I have a process for accepting corrections, duh. And so he wrote back and he said, well, none of these exercises are very hard. I've got 10-year-olds doing all this stuff, blah, blah, blah. Honestly, 2 A4 pages of stuff that was wrong with my work. That was only chapter 1. And at the bottom, it said, ominously, and that's just for starters. Thanks. So I tried to stay positive about this, but really in my head, I was going, oh no, this is what he means. He means I'm not doing a very good job of teaching. I'm a disaster. I'm really rubbish. Everyone else can do this. I've written this hideous resource, and it's all got wrong stuff in it. And I started to get really worried. But then actually I started to get a little bit angry. And I was like, why has he sent me this email? What is this all about? And I started getting really fed up that somebody had just come out of the blue and said, your resource sucks. This is what's wrong with it. And I got really angry. And none of these things is terribly constructive. So it's a little bit difficult to build a relationship because you're building a relationship maybe with somebody who you don't know very well and you don't know their strengths and weaknesses. That's not a good way of going about it, please. So this, again, was summed up by a developer. When I asked them, they said, well, it's really weird to go up to someone and go, hey, do you need my help? That's a bit strange. Similarly, I asked, well, this, Paul Hudson, is the parent of a child who was at the school that I used to work at. And he said, well, I figured you didn't really want me interfering. And I thought, oh, I would have loved to have you interfering. It would have been great. But you didn't tell me until I'd left. So it was a little bit difficult. But on the other hand, it can be a sort of a bit of that kind of thing. So sometimes I feel with parents, as a teacher, you don't really want to go, hey, parent, I don't know how to teach this subject to your child. Can you come and help me? That's quite scary. So he also said, well, it might be quite bad if somebody goes into a school and says, oh, can I help? But maybe the teacher might feel quite defensive about that and might not want to have the help. I don't know. Which brings me on to fear of revealing weakness. So I think that a lot of teachers are feeling very vulnerable by this stuff and are quite scared, and they don't really want to reveal that they don't know things. Now, I'm going to mention Pygame Zero. I know that the person who made Pygame Zero is here, so I want to make us a small disclaimer before this, okay? I think it's great. I used it the other day. It was fantastic. However, one day I was ill, and I was off school with conjunctivitis, which is like a gross-eyed, gunky disease thing. So I was like quarantined from school at home, but I wasn't feeling too terrible, but they just said, oh, don't go in, you might infect everybody. So I thought, right, I'm going to go and install this, and I'm going to play with it, and it's going to be fantastic. So I went along to the page, and I have Windows, and so does, by the way, pretty much every school ever, unless it's a music department or an independent school. I have Windows, so I went on, and it says this. And I expect most of the developers are going, seems pretty simple. Okay. So first instruction, install Pygame for Python 3. This is available. Download it from here. Now, I'm going to have to do my own sound effect for the next bit because I couldn't find a Creative Commons one, but what on earth do I do? Which one? Oh no, I'm losing my mic. What do I click on? I have no idea. So there was me sort of in my conjunctivitis-fueled rage going, oh, I have no idea what I'm supposed to click on here. I'm really confused. And you might be thinking, what an idiot. Who is this person? Why is she not able to figure out it's obviously this one? Sorry, but that's very, very confusing, and I've got a computer science degree. That's embarrassing. So assuming I managed to pick the right one, I'm like, okay, install Pygame Zero with pip. Brilliant, so off I go, and I type in pip install O. Oh, that doesn't work. Oh, I'm so stupid. Okay, well, let's try that again. Okay, I'll do it here. Doesn't work. So there was me sort of sitting at home with my conjunctivitis going, I can't install this. And I didn't install it, and I flipped my table, and I didn't use it until yesterday. So I'm really sorry. It's great now that I've used it. It's fantastic, but I couldn't install it, and I got really angry. So a big problem, I think, is there's great software that people have written and really fantastic things that could be used in the classroom, but if somebody can't install it, it's never going to get installed. Like, for example, at my last school, I did not have permissions on the computer to install my own Java updates. So they're so locked down. If you want to get anything installed, you have to go and ask the technicians for something. So generally, I'll just test things out for myself first, and then I'll go to the technicians and I'll say, please, can you install this? And they'll go, security, and they'll make some mumbo-jumbo noises, and then they might install it. So it's really, really hard. So that needs to be super easy. And I know that you might say, well, okay, install it on a Raspberry Pi, that's easy. It is pretty simple, it's all set up there. Raspberry Pi, yeah, about that. So please, would somebody find me a child in the UK who can spell the word raspberry? Why? 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 Just to make it slightly more complicated, they thought they'd make it invisible as well. Anyway, so again, this is what I saw from professionals. I saw that basically they are a bit worried that they've got a load of knowledge and they don't know what part of the knowledge might be useful. So, just a few little tips just to sort of finish off about how I think that we can work together successfully. First of all, I think that people need to keep an open mind. So that goes for teachers, keeping an open mind and not thinking somebody's coming in to take over and they think I'm really rubbish and terrible. But that also goes for developers, because I think that the best thing that you could possibly do is to visit a school and just look. Because lots of people have some ideas of this is what happens in schools, this is what it's like, this is what a child of this age can do, this is what a child of that age can do. Go and have a look. You might be right, you might be hilariously wrong. So keep an open mind. I would say pick something really specific to collaborate on. So don't just go, yeah, we should get together sometime. It's like when you meet an old friend in the supermarket, you go, yeah, we should totally have dinner, and then you never have dinner. So pick something. So pick a topic, pick a year group, anything specific that you can collaborate on. Don't just wing it. That also goes for the teachers as well. So don't just turn up and go, oh, well, they're 5, it'll be fine. It won't be fine. It will be a disaster. So talk to the teacher, if you're a developer, talk to the teacher and plan out who's going to do what, who's going to say what. Otherwise, you'll end up with a horrible situation where you rock up at the school and the teacher goes, right, off you go then. And they're sort of like, oh, I thought you were doing it. I thought I was just visiting. So plan what you're going to do first. Be honest about your weak points. Now, I think that parents are a massively important source of help for a school, because a parent is invested in the school, their child is there, and they have a reason to want to make that school better at delivering the computing curriculum. If you're a parent, great, engage with your child's school. If you're not a parent, find a friend who's a parent or pick a local school and try to do it that way. But be honest. So maybe you're really amazing at Python, but you're terrified by 5-year-olds. I know that when I first went into a junior school, they were the scariest thing about the school. 5-year-olds were really, really scary. I was used to 6-formers. Be honest, but also encourage the teacher to be honest. The teacher might say, look, I just don't know what a while loop is. And don't be like, okay, whatever. Be honest about it. And I guess another important thing is to respect each other's time. So everybody's really busy. Time is a big problem for everybody. So if you've organised to do something, do it. Don't sort of sack it off at the last minute, or don't think, right, this person's going to spend forever doing the thing that I wanted them to do, because maybe they've got 101 other things. Again, that works both ways. So I think that it is possible to have good collaborations between industry and between teachers, but it involves sort of personal relationships, and that's sort of, I don't really know the answer is the truth, but that's my idea of how it might work. Thank you.
So we have a few minutes for questions. If anyone wants to ask a question, come to this microphone where I'm standing right now. Anyone at all? Yes, good. Form an orderly queue here.
Thank you for the talk. Actually, one of the challenging points for teachers, maybe in our region, is to accept from normal people, developers or not, because they think that they know everything. Like, I'm a teacher, so I'm supposed to teach, not to learn from. So how do you handle this barrier between developers or anyone who would like to help teachers?
So how would I handle
the barrier between the teachers and the people who would like to help the teachers, like to accept?
So the barrier between the teacher accepting the help, do
Yes.
you mean? Yeah, absolutely. I think that probably, in my opinion, the most important thing is that you would meet together before you go into a lesson. I think if you walk into a lesson and that's the first time that you've met the teacher in the class, then it's always going to be a bit weird, because there's a bit of a, oh, I don't know you very well and don't know what you're going to say. But if you meet up beforehand, maybe at, for example, a coding evening or something like that, then it sort of introduces you, and then it's less scary, and you both realize that actually the other person is a real person and they have really useful skills. So for example, this is sort of a smaller example based on what I've done. So I would go from the secondary school where I worked, and I would go into the junior school, and I would have more subject knowledge than the junior school teachers, but they would have way better idea of how to pitch at their class's level than me. So there was a combination of expertise. I recognized that they were really good at working with small children, and I was really good, in teacher terms, at computing. So if you bring that into secondary school, then you as the developer would be really amazing at subject knowledge, and the teacher would be really good at managing a classroom, and then that would work together, so you both recognize that you have strengths. Excuse me.
Hi, thank you for the talk. I really enjoyed it. You mentioned something during the talk that it was obvious for me, like people working at 4 a.m. and you didn't know about until you were told that. And you mentioned something that was the opposite way, like Raspberry Pi is impossible hard to spell. So as I consider myself a member of the developers group, so when you find the package, what you try to do, or what we can do to provide you easier ways to communicate and to help each other to find out these kind of things and make it easier for everybody, because as a developer, I also want things to be easy.
So what can we do to help developers?
If you have any ideas about things, especially things that we developers may do to help you.
Well, one of the things that was fantastic at this conference was yesterday there was a day where it was like a doctor developer / teacher. So we got together groups of people, and I sort of said, well, look, I find it really hard to make GUIs with my class because it's so difficult to use the module. And then some people went, great, well, we'll make it really easy for using GUIs. We'll write a wrapper for this library, blah, blah, blah. And that was fantastically useful. So any sort of thing like that in terms of the software would be great. I also saw that there was a hell of a lot of collaboration with the MicroPython, which really impressed me because instead of just going, okay, we'll just write a piece of software, they really thought about who was going to use it and how this would work in education, even down to things like you need to be able to zoom in so that you can show the code on the board. That it sounds really tiny, it's a small thing, but it's really, really helpful. So that's sort of a software-y way. But otherwise, be open to going into schools. Don't think that they're scary, horrible places. I know that it's sort of the timing is not great, but maybe see if you could email support a teacher or meet them for a coffee on a weekend or something like that. I think most teachers would be like, yes, if a developer emailed them and said, would you like some help? So that's what I think.
That was a great talk, by the way. You described the problems that you had installing some Python packages and Pygame and Pygame 0. In an ideal world, and I know that doesn't exist, but in an ideal world, what would this installation process be for you? How should we as developers be making our software available so that not only school teachers, but the technicians who generally, in my experience, put up barriers and don't really do what they should be doing, which is make computers tools for learning. How do we make it easy for you to get the software that you need?
I think that from most schools' point of view, they use Windows. So whatever it is, it has to work quite easily with Windows because probably to get it installed on the network, you're going to have to jump through tons and tons of hoops with the technicians, and they're going to sort of make noises and grumble and things like that. So if it's like sort of a one-button thing, fantastic, it just works. Or if it's on the web, like Scratch is lovely and fantastic because it's just there and you just go to the website and it's, you know, you don't have to bother installing anything at all. That is fantastic. But it doesn't matter what it is as long as it's something that's pretty easy. I mean, somebody said to me yesterday, how do I install Python? I said, oh, we just go to the website and you Google for Python, you go on this, click on download, boom, done. It's that easy.
Can I make
that's all I want.
Okay, we've run out of time for questions, so thank you very much, Laura.